You might have thought that why Anirban has got so much interest into the scientific explanation and advancing the core principles of Hinduism. My hero has been Vijnana Bhikshu, and he had written a book in the 15th century, Sankhyasāra. In Sankhyasāra, I got the hint that how uh, the entire logical process of understanding the universe in terms of number systems, and so logical it is. The definitions of sattva, raja, tama, three gunas or three qualities that constitutes everything fundamental of the universe. So you can say that Vijnana Bhikshu, his writing inspired me to advance the principles of Hinduism, write codes and Python codes and GUI, graphical user interface, and verify several of the principles said by different scholars when they were debating how right they were. We can scientifically evaluate, and my dream is to start a culture where good quality professors and who has good understanding of science, who will scientifically put forth the principles and then argumentative behaviors into a very scholarly debate, and that will be a renaissance of Hinduism. So basically, you can say that the culture of inquisitiveness, learning the principles of the universe, how the universe works, and how different principles come into effect, which principles need to be corrected, and which one needs to be transformed, which one needs to be rejected, or new things are necessary. That predictions, everything were part of Hindu culture and Hinduism. And I have tried my best in the last couple of months to build several codes, Python codes and GUIs, and definitely I would love to share. But all this inspiration has come from Vijnānabhikṣu's Sankhyasāra, when he used to say that, I mean, one particular thing that changed my life is that you have a circle, and you have three different circles on the perimeter of the circle, and that one of them is Svatva, that is projection to infinity and taking feedback from infinity, Raja, that is transformations, and Tama is bonding. These three definitions of three gunas, the three qualities, I have taken from Wikipedia Sankhyasāra. The reason when he said that all these three has to be there, if it is not there, the fundamental, the tanmatra, the unit of everything that constitutes the property of this universe, that falls apart. So then I understand that why tamaguna is so important in understanding, constructing a theory of the universe. Now, see that he was saying that every moment they are oscillating. Sometimes tamaguna becomes very large, sometimes sattaguna or tamaguna, and every moment you can't stop them. In no moment you can stop, because that is with the cycles of the universe. Because when this bonding gets disrupted, and that happens in Vishnu's Ananta Sajya, as you know already, that only Rajaguna survives. Even the Tamagunas, the circle disappears, Sattvaguna's circle disappears. Of course, if different lokas are disrupted, the relationship between them is disrupted, you cannot project anything to infinity and take feedback from infinity to there, but therefore it's not possible. And when bonding property is especially destroyed, nothing can exist. So that is millions and millions of years. That's why Vishnu is sleeping. He was not a lazy guy. He was just representing the kind of dynamics that is required for explaining the universe. So all this kind of thing, very scientific way of looking into Sattva, Tama, I learned from Vijnānabhikṣu. Many of the features has been explained by him in a way. For an example, there are, Vijnānabhikṣu is in the Sankhyasāra. In one of the places, he wrote something like, in the local space time of a certain degree, the localized contexts compete with each other. And the derivatives of that competition, even if you isolate and take away, the concept is globalized. So even if you make the host circle bigger and bigger and bigger, the sattva raja tama gunas, the elementary context, it expands. Beautiful way of saying that property is invariant even if you change the scale time. Isn't it similar to the kind of principles based on which in the 20th century science was constructed, that it should be in a space-time invariant, only then you have discovered a certain scientific rule. And then another thing is that a different imaginary world, inside different imaginary world, different universes are hidden. Very simple straight card statement. I have noted it down. So this part is called Sankhya Pravachana Bhashya. He wrote it. So in this book, Sankhya Pravachana Bhashya, this guy, Vignānabhikṣu, he had Sankhyasāra, one book, and one is Pravachana Bhashya, Shankhakarika, written by somebody else. I'm sorry about that. So in this Pravachana Bhashya, he is arguing that the Purusha's pattern, which is embedded. So, I love this guy. Sattva, Raja, Tama, three gunas are there. Even these three guna cannot be outside Purusha. Nobody said that before 15th century. I didn't find it, at least. If you find, let me know in the comment section. So, he is saying that Sattva, Raja, Tama, all three of them has got Purusha inside. So the mathematical and the geometric properties for self-evolution is there. So when these three come together and start oscillating, because they were put into a finite circle. If Purusha is put into a finite circle, Purusha gets very disturbed because there is a finiteness which restricts itself. So, so in this situation, this complexity starts forming, because who will be dominating which part it is, and why this oscillation happens is because Purusha has primes or Dvaivic numbers. When Dvaivic number, no combination, is 0. So it's like a triplet of this. Sometimes it is increasing, sometimes it is decreasing. So it's a fundamental property of the mathematical structure. So we call it phase prime metric, and we created a mathematical structure to represent Purusha. Now the point is, because of these oscillations only, hidden in the Dvaivic numbers or the primes, we get a feature. Now people can tell that Anirban, that where are you getting it? Is it exactly written as is? So those people who hate Hinduism would continue to tell this. But Hinduism is not like other religions, where something is written 2000 years before or 1500 years before in a textbook that has to be absolute, and for thousands and thousands of years to come, that would tell the truth. For us, we create the truth. So even if you explain in a different way in this point of time, you are keeping Hinduism alive. You are running Hinduism, because it's Charaivati, to move on, discussing and argumenting, and when you are commenting in the YouTube videos, it proves that you are a Hindu and you are remaining to the cause, to understand the universe and take those principles and implement it in the understanding. So you see the Purushas, these oscillations are there. So nobody made that mathematics. I studied Sankhya, I studied philosophy, I studied Dvaivic numbers, and I created a mathematical structure that would represent the Purusha Prakriti duality, and I have, as a Hindu, every right to do it, and I am doing it for the sake of understanding, because that's the principle that they started. They created a religion based on understanding of the universe and understanding its principles, and change the life and every single life act of certain people. If they thought about it, and I contributed to that understanding, and make Python modules, GUIs, and all other kind of tools to understand it better. So if I do that, I'm not adding something from outside to Hinduism to make it look great. Those who say that, they have a poison already inside in Hinduism. They don't understand what is Hinduism. They don't want to understand. There is no need to make them understand. The truth is that we remain to the cause, and 15th century, when Vijnānabhikṣu was doing all these things, nobody came and killed him. Nobody told him, cut off his head. Nobody did it. Nobody burnt him alive. His principles are still studied in all the schools. So we create, and why not? I have the right to create another book and another way of adding down perspective. Why not? You have the right. You also have it. Everybody has got, who is trying to understand and unfold it and explore it and expand it. So, so you see that when Purusha is inside Sattva, Raja, Tama, when these oscillations starts happening, because incompleteness is the fundamental root of Purusha, because of the number of prime numbers, total number of prime numbers is infinity, even though with until 108 or 109, 26 primes gives you the fundamental understanding of majority part of what is happening in the universe, but you can't understand the whole. So these interactions create the self, creates the self, Atman. Why? Because when you are oscillating in all possible different combinations, Sattva, Raja, Tama, then you can replicate a large part of the universe and emulate it. That is how consciousness is born. That is how self is born. So you see, never in the history of Hinduism, people like Vijnana Bhikshu came, who went to the very core of Hindu scriptures and others, much far from the Buddhism or other truths, and they created a situation where very mathematical structures, creating mathematical structures after Vijnānabhikṣu is not a difficult thing for me. But if I read other books, the original book texts, it will be very difficult. But after Vijnānabhikṣu, I can easily do it. Now, Bhikshu doesn't mean a Buddhist. Vijnānabhikṣu, the person who goes for alms, that is Bhiksha, the donation, and Vijnana is science. Who worships and takes the donation of science? That is Vijnānabhikṣu. And when he talks about Sattva, Raja, Tama, all three gunas and its combinations, its root lies well back to the origin of Vedantic philosophy, Satapatha Brahmana, and all this, 500-600 years before Buddhism was born. So there is no point in arguing also that, okay, he was a Buddhist, have a tendency to always say, okay, that guy was Buddhism. This is part of Buddhism. This is part of, you can't take it. That kind of little boy, they start arguing. So I say that don't argue. Stop arguing and explore the beauty of the knowledge. Thank you.